Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk, and we have a special guest on today. Someone who I've been trying to get on, and he's so busy coaching that it was hard to get the setup. And me and Hollis had talked about trying to get this gentleman on just because of the information that he if you sit and talk with him, you can't fathom like all the information that he knows. But I want to give just a little piece. Over the past decade as a head coach, this gentleman has won 75 of 80 games. That's including 36-game winning streak. 5 consecutive years his teams earned honors of county championships, and he even led the track team.
Yeah.
Okay, the track team to a championship.
In this last past season,
Yes.
assistant coach
Yes.
for the Nitro Girls Championship.
And we have in the studio, I'm honored to have Coach Scott Swayne in the studio today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, Carl. Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, I'm just, and I want this to be said, and no matter how, and I hope that you can take this and not feel uncomfortable. I am honored to have you on this show.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I am honored to have you sitting in this studio, having an opportunity to create this venue, this platform to let people know what you're still doing. Okay? And I think that's important. And Hollis, I've always and the conversation about coaching has always been, is it the coach?
Yeah.
Is it the players? Most cases, coaches have to have the right players. But I'm going to make the case in this situation, the kids that Coach Swayne touches, I think they understand his purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to even hear him talk about his own coaching style. But before we take that, I'm curious to see how does a coach coach multiple different schools, mostly in the black community, for the benefit of the black community.
Yeah.
And take these young men and women and turn them into championships.
Yeah. That's a great question. And Coach, so you're from Gary, West Virginia.
McDowell County.
And when did you first come to Charleston, and kind of where did it start?
I came to Charleston in the early 70s to play football at West Virginia State. I was recruited by State to play quarterback at State. And I have a lot of people in Kanawha County that went to West Virginia State from McDowell County.
Yeah.
Walter Wilkes and a bunch of people that I know that's connected. And I was recruited by Bluefield State because there was only 2 schools that would take a black quarterback at that time, Bluefield State and West Virginia State. Yeah. So once I came to Charleston on a recruiting trip during May weekend, I never left.
and again, we're talking black quarterback when the concept of a black quarterback isn't even possible.
Yeah,
right,
100%.
Right.
So,
it was interesting.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but you was just still doing what you do best. You was playing the game.
Yeah. And
if you could throw the ball, you was a quarterback. If you could remember the plays and put everybody where you're supposed to be, and took control, you was a quarterback.
So did you played at State? You graduated from State.
Yes.
And then you started your teaching career and coaching. When did the coaching start?
Probably about 45 years ago.
Okay.
All right, about 45 years ago. I was coaching on the west side of the Biddy League, and Big Ed Sweeney had a league on the west side, and I was coaching Taft. It was an elementary school. The
I
kids
remember
from
Taft.
Washington Manor.
Yep.
See, I taught at Taft. Then I went to Wilson. Then I went to Stonewall. Then I went to Capitol. So my whole teaching has been on the west side, from the grandkids to the grandmas. So by being in the community and teaching also about where's your stuff, getting your seat, all the things that make you successful in life. And that's what coaching is, just teaching things to make you successful in the game. But teaching in the school system was the big one because there weren't that many black men teachers.
I never had a black teacher growing, like elementary, high school, nothing. I didn't have a black male teacher until college.
See, so I was a black. It was about 8 when I first started, teachers. Nowadays, teachers. So it's like, but that's when, in McDowell County, you either went to coal mines or you became a teacher. And I had aunts and uncles that were teachers. Gary District High School in McDowell County. So I was going to be a teacher and a coach.
Miss Berry and Coach Richardson were the two black individuals who coached and taught that I saw
on a regular basis.
On a regular basis.
And wanted to check you out, what's going on.
And as they called him Old Pro, he would cuss me. Mm-hmm. I could make a play. Coaches are saying good play, and he would walk by me and he'd look around, make sure wasn't nobody close to me, and he'd throw the N-word at you, and he'd be like, "Don't you listen to all that." He said, "That ain't great."
That's right.
That's just a regular old play.
That's right.
And I used to think like he was just hating on me, like that's even before hating was even a term.
Word.
But I was like, why is he? And he taught my mom and dad.
Yeah.
So he came to my house, and came to my mom and dad and told them like, your kid is going to fool around and gonna let this school take his career.
Right.
Cause he think he all that. And he would tell me, like, don't listen to these coaches.
Yeah.
You ain't do nothing special. This is what you're supposed to do.
But see, what we didn't have when I came here, and we still don't have, we don't have black men teachers. Like, I can't tell you how many black men teachers are in the county. I know Larry Moore, Big L, is a vice principal, but we don't have any black men teachers. If they are out there, I don't know.
It's only a few. I know the schools that I've been to. So before we get into the details of your coaching history, I have to say this, because in the era that I came up in, the early mid '90s, is a very tumultuous era, particularly dealing with the crack epidemic,
Right.
and you know how it was on the west side then.
Yes, I was right
and
there.
I know that a lot of young men my age, they look to you.
Right.
You was their father, uncle, big brother,
Right.
coach, teacher.
Right.
You was the only one keeping them in school.
Right.
So dealing in that era, how was that for you, and kind of what are the mindset you take on to deal with that?
I just looked at it like something that we had to win. We had to win that part of it because when the crack hit the west side, I lived on Central Avenue.
I
lived
remember that,
on the west
right
side.
there. Yeah.
So it was jumping all off, and I'm like, hey, you still got to do your homework. I don't care what's happening. You still got to do what you got to do. If your mom in jail and your dad got shot, what's your point? We got to keep going. We can't stop. See, growing up in the 60s, you had the attitude that you couldn't stop. You got to keep going. And that's the attitude that I've had growing up, and even now, you got to keep pushing. Stay still. You can't gain. You can't get ahead.
I like that.
And again, I'm with you, Hollis, because I'm interested in having you just start talking and give us some information. But again, I'm trying to imagine you being this black quarterback, being good, and the acceptance of it, because it was that couldn't have been anything that was accepted, and yet you're performing, you're doing everything that you can do,
right.
And yet it's not something that should be happening.
But see, you have to look at McDowell County. The history of McDowell County is working together. Whether or not you're a Bucarelli or Bukovic, you had all these Italians, you had people from Czechoslovakia. Everybody was living in one pot, working in the mines. So
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. So plus, my father worked for U.S. Steel, so they just knew I was the quarterback. So I never fought it. But just one coach he tried to make me quit, tried to run me away, but I didn't do it. Coach Wilkerson, that was the coach in at Gary. He's Ronnie Wilkerson's dad. Norman's dad, he's a legendary coach in McDowell County. He was the only black coach. When we integrated, we had no black coaches.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So what was the first coaching job, and kind of how did you get started? Now, you said you got started with the bitty ball.
Yeah.
When did you get started with the football and kind of moving up to the ranks?
Well, when John Clendenin was the principal at Woodrow Wilson, he needed a coach and he needed a teacher because Carl Clark left Wilson and went to Stonewall.
Yeah.
So I took Carl's place at Wilson. So Clendenin hired me, and Danny Knapp was the basketball coach, and Bob Grimmett was the football coach, and Larry Mullins, they needed assistants, so I became an assistant coach because it's something to do, to stay with sports, to stay around sports. At one time, I thought I was good enough to go to the pros till we were playing Central State, and this dude named Mel Lunsford, about 6'8", 290, grabbed me, and I thought I was as solid as a rock, flipped me around, spun me, and drugged me on the ground. I said, nah.
I think we all came to that reality. I know I had my fair share. And Lumber, he was an NFL guy, right?
Yeah, New England Patriots.
Yeah.
We're not going to do this. Especially if people nobody's blocking too. So you got to take that into consideration. Who's blocking for you?
So tell the listeners, like, today, when you look at coaching, you look at the youth and how that relationship is now. Help me with what that is, because I've been complaining about it, and people ain't listening to me.
Well, they may not listen to me, but I do know this relationship has changed because the parents have become more involved, and a lot of times in a negative way. Instead of trying to help the situation, a lot of parents cause confusion, and it hurts the situation. So it's more prevalent now. Social media makes people more aware now. People want to be on social media for whatever reason. And it got to the point where you couldn't get kids to work hard. See, if you're not going to work hard, we're going to have a problem. And if we're going to have a problem, it's going to be because you're not working hard. And I just wouldn't accept it. And it got to be more and more of that. And I found myself like, okay, well, let it go. Then I got to thinking, that ain't who I'm not. That's not who I am. I'm not gonna let it go. So I'm gonna still be the way it's supposed to be done, as far as the right way. You know, clean up around your locker, put your stuff away, to get ready for practice. Just do this.
Does that sound familiar to you?
100%. And I think that goes to my point earlier, because I think in the times that I was coming up in middle school during that age, our parents wasn't necessarily around. So you had to be the parent. You had to step in. And I think a lot of my guys that I hung out with, but not for you. You know, Darrell's, Tacos, all them, they're my guys. But not for you, they probably wouldn't have developed to the man that they are today.
One of the most successful stories out of that whole thing is Darrell Miller.
Yeah.
Darrell's like a son to me.
Yeah.
And I kicked Darrell off the team 18 times.
I know.
I let him back on 18 times. Yeah. I kicked him off. I let him back. I'm going to do better. Okay, let's keep working at this. Now he's a very successful person in the community.
Yes, he is.
I love Darrell. He's doing great things. Yeah. He knows that. See, thing of it is, once you develop a relationship with a player or a student, and they know that you care about them, then they're willing to do that much for you, and you can almost trick them into doing more.
And it takes somebody to challenge, like Damon Booker.
Yeah.
Like Damon Booker is a young man who I know for a fact that loves me. Okay, and we had conversations, and to this day he'll say everything about his relationship with me at State has got him to where he is today.
Yeah, he's All-American at State.
You know, and his thing was, you know, and I'm after him like every day. Like every day I'm on him for something. Right. You got to work harder. You got to do that. Parents don't want that. Like and I don't understand.
Oh, man,
and I'm begging to the parent, because I even responded to somebody who said a dad that was talking about his kid on Facebook and talking to the coach and all that, and I'm like, that's not going to solve it.
See, what people don't understand is sports is different than everything else. If you're in sports,
yes.
So there's certain things that you have to have done in that sport to be successful. And you want your parents to help you. You want to be a part of your team. But a lot of times nowadays, parents are like bad news for some teams. And the kids know that. The kids, well, see, I got the young kids too. So I know how the world is changing. I'm not as hard on them as I was on my other kids, but I should be harder because it was hard on me. But the kids nowadays, when you talking about football, that's hard work. That's discipline. That's
Hard work,
dedication.
yes.
You can't just come in here bull crapping around. You're going to get hurt or you're going to get somebody else hurt. That was what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a
you
fact.
can get yourself hurt, but you ain't going to get my quarterback hurt because you still ain't know what you're doing.
I forgot about that saying.
Yeah. So you can't get 2 for 1. We'll get you if you don't want to work. But see, the thing about football that I really loved about football, unless you've ever played it like in organized football, it's tough. And you better be on your game. And the higher you go playing it, the more you better have games because the game increases speed. You should know that. You was in the NFL.
And I agree 100%. And I think the problem is what you measure of being good, great, outstanding, I think isn't because you scored touchdowns, isn't because you're the best guy on your team.
But see,
it's the measure of everybody that you can see or don't see. More so the people that you don't see.
But see, the record is important, but it's not the most important thing.
No.
The most important thing is to give them discipline, give them a direction, give them things they got to do if they're going to be with us. And so even if you don't win games, which we love to win, don't get me wrong, but at least we've made something happen good. And that's all it is, man.
And let me ask you, so for people that don't know, you talked about beginning your coaching career. Wilson, that was a former middle school or junior high on the west side.
Right.
And you coached from, in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, mid-2000s.
220s, yeah.
And you've had sustainable success the whole time.
But it's because of the kids, man. The West Side's had some great kids for a long time.
We know that the West Side has some great talent. But to manage that talent.
What you got to do, you got to have high expectations. You got to set it high. And if you're going to be with me on this, you're going to have to try to meet that expectation. Because I'm a very personal coach. I coach everybody different. You can't treat everybody the same. When you hear people say treat everybody the same, that's bull crap.
Yeah.
And see, I'm kind of from that old school too. That way.
One of the best stories I ever heard when Emmitt Smith was drafted, and another kid was drafted, and they were at training camp, and one kid was asleep. Coach Jimmy Johnson got rid of him, and the parent came in and said, "Hey, what would you do if Emmitt Smith was asleep?" He said, I'll wake him up. I heard that. So I wake him up. I got to have Emmitt, but he can go if that's what you want him to do.
So, again, because what people don't realize, because we'll say that, the West Side just had talented kids, but during the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, they had tremendous problems.
We had issues. We had issues on the West Side.
They had tremendous issues, so you had to manage that.
I took that personally, too, because I knew those kids. I knew those parents. I knew those people. I don't know a lot of them now because we got different people that's moved in.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was a stable community. 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Yeah. It's
the same people. So now you don't know them. You don't have that kind of connection with the parents. So that's where it starts. And if you can't have a connection, you can't do nothing, man.
Is there really even a reason for mom or dad to even step into
Good question.
into the mold? Because the kid comes home and he's saying, "Mom, Dad, I'm not starting."
Right.
Mom, Dad want to now all of a sudden want to call coach and say, "Coach Swayne, what's going on? Why my kid ain't playing?"
I can tell you this: I've never had a parent ask me why their kid wasn't playing. The whole time I was on the West Side, not once did somebody say, "Why come my kid ain't playing?" They know that the reason they ain't playing because they ain't good enough. High expectations.
But also you're a trusted member of the community.
I think that's
different too.
Yeah,
because I don't know. Because, like I said, not only did you coach, teach, but you lived in the hood. You lived right there in the community,
and had success, and they could see your success, so they're not leaving.
But see, people always said, "When you worried about, somebody got shot down the street?" I said, "They wasn't shooting at me."
Yeah, they wouldn't either.
No.
They wouldn't even disrespect
I remember
like
one
that.
time somebody broke a window in my house, man, and I called some of the youngsters that I used to deal with, and I said, "I need to find out who did this," because my daughter Mercedes was living with me on Central. Broke the window, but within half an hour they brought the kid to me. They had found out who did it that quick, brought him to my door, and I said, "Look, man, that's dangerous. You can't do that. That was dumb. You know what?
Yeah.
So just pay for my window."
Yeah.
And they let him live.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it was like that.
Yeah,
so,
it was.
and let me ask you this, because I know not only did you have success in football, you had a basketball and track, and you pulled off kind of what coaches are doing now, what the women's coaches do.
No.
You used to have the OGs to come play the middle school players, to rough them up and get them better.
Oh, yes.
Where did that come from? How did you think of that?
Because you play against the best to get better. So if school ain't in during Christmas, that's when we did it. We ain't do it during the season.
Yeah.
But when Christmas, high noon every day, when the school's out, practice at 12 o'clock. regardless if it's snow or not. 12 o'clock. And if you don't show up, you miss practice. 12 o'clock, high noon, that's what I call it. They was there. There's always there. It's the discipline that they needed in sports, and I gave it to them in sports, and I hope it transferred into life.
See, that's that's what I said the other day.
We talk, Coach. We talk so much about discipline being the key element to everything.
Not just sports.
No, to everything. And the thing about sports is sports was that thing that you were supposed to get introduced into that type of discipline. You know, being on time, doing everything that the coach said, and even knowing what he wanted you to do.
But see, don't you realize that society develops sports so we can have something for other people to do? And if you put it in a competition, if you're a competitor, you want to win. So sports gives you that goal. No one wants to be in sports and lose. Nobody likes to lose. I don't care what nobody say.
Yeah.
You know, let's win. So if what you got to do to win is be disciplined, and not just on the field, like in the locker room. If it was stuff in the locker room, it better be picked up. Because if whoever it was that comes to my office, you got to come get it. So where my helmet? Go see Coach Swayne. It has to be put away. It has to be put away, man. That's why they there.
Coach,
put them away.
I would not if you walked away from your helmet.
Right.
If you left your helmet sitting on the bench and you went and got water, and I saw that helmet sitting there,
you take it.
That's an issue.
Yeah, it's an issue. It's your helmet.
And I would tell them, don't ever.
See, you got to, and that's why I think that's why I could never coach no guys now. See, girls, you tell them stuff, and they try to do it. They want to do well. Well, guys, they seen things. They've seen TV. They emulate things. Girls don't emulate too much of nothing. They just do what you tell them. And if you got good girls that can play, you can win state championships. I figured that out real quick. we got the Nitro.
And that's interesting because I think when we talk about the emergence of women's professional college basketball, I think you're seeing just better ball.
Yes.
I just from my own eyes, I'm not expert. It's just a better game to watch.
And yes, it's more defensive too. It's not a lot of wide open, easy buckets. It's hard down grit.
It's grit.
And that's what we do at Nitro. We bought that from the West Side.
But how do we lose that in the guys? Because I know in my last year's coaching. And what I said, I couldn't coach no more because it just everybody was just strictly about them. We could be beating the team down, they get mad because they ain't get enough carries, enough touchdowns. It's just that sort of thing.
I've seen that.
That's the selfish piece.
I've experienced that. Such and such got more carries to me. He was better than me, and I'm better than him. Whatever. Look, you get your own team. you can do what you want, but that's what I'm gonna do. See, I've never had a parent ask me, why come my kid ain't playing? Now, Pat at Nitro, now, he's had parents ask him.
Yeah, we had him. He talked about that.
Pat, I coached Pat. Pat in junior high, him, and then JR. JR Kenny was probably the smartest guy I ever coached. And he's one of the smartest coaches around. And I've been with JR. He was with me at Stonewall for like 15 years. Man. He won like 12 county champs. I mean, he was ridiculous.
He's at Glenwood. I remember him at Glenwood.
So he's a hell of a guy. He's a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
But the coaching mentality that you want to do is do a teaching mentality. Teaching moments all the time. See, I'm a teacher. I come from teachers. So teaching to me, I had fun teaching. I just got tired of teaching. 40 years I taught.
Well, you put your time, man.
Yeah,
you put your time.
In one part of town.
Yeah, in one part of town. And I'm telling you, he raised the whole community.
It was wild.
Of guys over there.
Well, I'm glad I was able to do it. Now somebody else got to step it up.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to switch this a little bit, and not saying we can't go back to any of those pieces, but one of the interesting components that I found out, I found some information out about that I thought was really crazy. South Charleston High School gets a new coach. And so he gets a staff, and all of a sudden, his offensive side of the ball, I guess offense coordinator and all those coaches on that side, they don't necessarily agree with what he wants to do, how he wants to do it.
That's funny.
And I'm trying because see, I'm trying to figure out the coach's concept. Everybody, I can't imagine anybody saying anything to Bud Grant. I can't see anybody saying anything to Sonny Randall.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like these coaches, I know those type of coaches as head coaches.
Right.
And so I'm like, you don't even know what to say to them.
But see, it's different now. Everything is branched down. It's softened up. Everything is softening up. Even in athletics and coaching, it's softening up. It's not no boom.
Why wouldn't I come and talk to you?
Well, you could.
I could come meet with you and say,
Why
okay,
not? If you wanted to.
But instead, I'm gonna get Hollis because he's the offensive coordinator, and
That's wrong, man. That's just wrong.
If that's who you are, you shouldn't be in coaching, or you should be looking for your own head coaching job, and then you also have to be able to say that your staff can come to you and say that you wrong.
Coaching is hard, so anybody wants to do it. There ain't no money in it. You know
There
that.
ain't no money.
I at one time, I looked at West Virginia State. I got people on the W Club and the alumni. Hey, come down here and coach your state. I make more money coaching girls basketball than they was paying at that time. I'm like, come on, man. Because if you're gonna do it, you want to do it right, and it's the time what you're paying me for, not the job. Putting a lot of time.
And you really, and to your point, really, you have to like coaching, or you have to like being around kids trying to teach it.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, you
gotta be
do.
obsessed about it.
And you have to love the idea of working with kids, because if you're thinking you're gonna make money here, especially in coaching at West Virginia State myself, I get it. It wasn't for the money.
Right.
You know, it was for the kids that I was, or the young men that I was gonna touch, and hopefully that I could make them into men.
That's hard because they're not ready turned how they're going to be. When you get them younger, like 14, 15, 16, you can put a bigger stamp. But once they get older, it's hard to break
it's a fight. It's a fight.
Hard to break habits.
Yeah.
Now we know you got to go. We're approaching time.
That's right. Go ahead.
So you got a list over there.
People that I've coached.
Yeah, the best players that you done coached.
I ain't saying the best players.
You say the best. Okay.
I'm just saying the people that I remember.
Okay, got you. We'll leave it right there.
All right.
So let's hear that list.
Okay, we got Daryl Denson.
Kennedy. He won a Kennedy Award winner.
Daryl
Right?
Denson was the greatest running back I ever coached.
Yeah, Kennedy Award. He played at WVU for a while.
No, Daryl Denson went to Iowa.
Iowa.
He played at Stonewall.
Okay.
Stuart Mitchell, who played baseball, and he was quarterback at Stonewall. Mm-hmm. Roger Stewart, who went to Fairmont, he made All-State.
Okay.
Mark Moore played at Stonewall, went to Tennessee, played in Atlanta Falcons.
Gotcha.
Eric Smedley went to Indiana, played in the NFL.
Buffalo Bills. Yep.
Lock, yeah. I took him up there on that visit. He said, Coach, I ain't coming up here. But we went up there. You know, they put us in. I remember that, like with Eric Smedley. John Jones, JJ played for New York Jets.
Yep.
His son playing for North Carolina now.
Yep.
John Jones.
WVU running back.
Yeah. JJ
the tallest running back ever.
He was my
6'4".
He was my quarterback at Stonewall. He was my quarterback.
Yeah.
He's smart. I give him, he's the quarterback.
Yeah.
Then you got Ricky Sherrod. He
Yep.
went to
Ricky,
WVU.
Uh-huh.
Ricky Sherrod.
Saints.
Yes. Then Josh Cookie Miller, the basketball player.
Yeah.
Greatest athletes ever. One of the greatest.
He's a great person, too.
Yes, he is.
That's the thing about Josh. See, I never call him Cookie. I call him Josh. Everybody talking about Cookie. That's his dad. It's Cookie.
Yeah.
He's Josh.
Pro basketball player overseas.
Yeah, and played in Nebraska.
Yep.
Kayshawn Haley, he went to Kennedy. Big time
Bad
running
boy.
back. Yes, he was on the team I had over there.
Yeah, bad boy.
Tubby, Robin Williams, they call him. He's an official. He's been officiating 40 years.
Yep.
Tubby. Silas Nazario probably had the quickest feet.
Yeah.
Silas had accelerated.
He used to kill that zone read the Capitol.
He gone. And plus, he's a basketball player, too. Duran Workman, who played quarterback, went to G-Dub and left Stonewall, went to St. Albans into G-Dub. J.C. Morris, Darian Scott, D-Man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Minnesota Viking.
Yes.
Ohio State.
Washington
Buckeye.
Redskins.
Yep.
Do you know why he went to Ohio State? I
What?
tell people this. They had the same color as Stonewall. They're gray and silver.
Nice.
They do.
Yeah.
That's why. D-Man was a hell of a player.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was. J.R. Kenny, Wayne Casey. Wayne played
Pro
for
basketball
me. He played,
player.
yes, and he's coaching basketball now. He's like one of the leading scorers at West Virginia State.
Yeah. He took us to the championship.
Yeah. Robert Lee Sanders in the Hall of Fame in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville State.
Jacksonville State.
Where Bosley played at.
Yes, Bozzy's son. Chance Knox, probably the hardest working
Yep.
kid I ever
VMI.
had. VMI. Teran Rush, big time
Yes, sir.
player.
Eastern Michigan.
KJ Waterman, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know KJ
can
Waterman.
play.
He's a baller.
Michael Carey, one of the respected lawyers in town.
Yes, he is.
My
Yeah.
main man. I nicknamed him Black Magic. He can handle that right.
Nice.
That's him. That's Mike.
Yeah.
Then you had Kevin Lee.
Yeah.
But rest in peace. Michael Mason, Skip Mason's son. All the Cunninghams, Varian, Donald, Emmett,
West
Sean,
Virginia State Hall of Famers.
Yeah, all the Cunninghams. It's just so many, and if I left anybody out, it's by accident. So those just names came to my head. I probably coached over maybe 10, 15,000 West Side kids.
Yeah.
You know, doing that frame 30 years. They come in.
That's huge, man.
Well, what happened was I ended up coaching a grandson of one of my players I coached at Wilson.
Wow. Did you coach Dorian Etheridge too?
Yes.
Yes, the NFL player, NFL guy.
That's right, Dorian. My bad.
Let me ask you this.
Reek Pitts was there.
The Reek Pitts was that.
Yes.
Another NFL guy.
Yes.
Let me ask this question
Wow.
because I have said this, and Hollis, you've heard me talk about this. You've heard me talk about this before. All of those names, playing NFL, playing NBA, all that kind of stuff. Why do we not acknowledge those players? I don't care if you got a year in. That's a year that somebody else didn't get. Like, why do we not celebrate
because
those athletes?
I don't know if it's because of the athletes I named, but I do know I recognize we are in West Virginia, and sometimes if it's not real big news, it's no news. But to us, it's big news. So maybe we need to get it in our black newspaper.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that probably is a step, because I think if it's not directly related to WVU, it's not really covered.
Well, and I get the whole Marshall WVU thing, because they're the big schools, and we cheer for them. We cheer for Marshall. We cheer for WVU.
Right.
and once you left there, wherever you go, but then we always want to talk about a particular person who went to the pros, or this particular person did this. But we got a host of people who got an opportunity to play on Sunday, play in the NBA, and we don't want to. We don't even want to bring them like into a list. Can we put a list out? Can we celebrate them?
Maybe
or
that's
something?
our job. Maybe we do that. I mean, you got a good list. You got a good starting right there.
That's just some. It's more. Those just sitting at the table and want to eat breakfast. I said, write some names down.
And you coached primarily junior high, middle school.
Well, I coached 6-7 years at Capital.
You coached at Capital.
Yes,
Okay, basketball.
Yes, when Cook was up there.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on Coach Clark's staff.
Okay.
7 years at Cap.
Nice. And you're currently high school coach, girls basketball at
Assistant
Nitro.
Coach at Nitro. Coach with 3 of my ex-players.
Yeah.
Andy Jones, Pat Jones, and J.R. Kenny.
Wow.
We're having a great time.
And that tree is crazy. You see that tree?
Yeah.
That tree is wild.
It's a great time down there, man.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're changing the conception of how Nitro is. There used to be a time Nitro wasn't looked at from the West Side in a positive way.
Yeah.
Now we got West Side down at Nitro working with their kids. They said, well, you know what, them people in West Side ain't that bad.
Yeah.
Some pretty decent people up there, and plus they know how to win.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can reach down to the youth football league and try to fix that.
Listen, what is this? What is the status of that situation now? They still got to travel out of county to play.
Yeah, we're basically going to be in Parkersburg.
That's crazy as hell, man.
It is.
See, I don't care how you play it. That don't make no sense. It should be a lawsuit. I don't know what the bylaws are. Can you just set who you want in your own league and use county funds and county facilities that everybody pays on? That ain't right.
It's political now. Right now it's political. So everybody's trying to get in. So ain't nobody won't nobody step up. There's not a politician that's going to step up and say that. Because here's the thing, no coach. Okay, so they voted in a new president.
Who is they? The powers that be.
The powers that be. Okay, which there is.
We're
no
talking about
power.
the local league.
Yeah, just the local league.
Right.
Like there's no power. Like you don't have a power. You're the president of your youth.
Well, how can you keep me from that playing then?
A whole community. You can make a whole community, 3 communities.
Communities.
Dunbar, Charleston, and South Charleston. You can make them not be able to play because you say they're not in your league. And they're going to use everybody's facility. And the Board of Education won't say nothing.
Look,
the politicians won't say nothing.
It's a situation that is really sad, but I know and you know the reason that those 3 communities are excluded, and it's blatant. And I don't care how you play it and how you say it, that ain't right. So however it needs to be fixed, if I could be a part of trying to find out what's going on, because that's not right, man. That's just not right. That's wrong.
Well, the gentleman who is the president of the league that we should be in,
right,
is in Nitro.
Well, I don't live in Nitro.
I'm just saying he's in Nitro. Okay. I'm just saying he's in Nitro.
All right, well, you might want to let me know who's that name.
I can do that.
Yeah, you can write it down on a piece of paper.
Because
that's just not right.
It's just there's no and what bothers me the most is that you can see it. Like, I mean, you can see what's happening. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's not go down that road.
Okay,
we'll be here all night talking about that. Because we want to celebrate you, Coach. We appreciate you coming through. You're an absolute legend in the game, and you inspire so many people to be great.
Pass it forward,
and that tree that you just named and many more
is powerful.
It's powerful.
Good people too.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all, man.
But it does come. Just so you know, it to me when people talk about who's is it the coach? Is it the players? To me, in this situation, you're a common denominator too much.
Yes, 100%.
And so you have to be that star that's traveling around touching these kids. And the kids that people say are hard to get to, their life ain't got a chance. You going deep into that community and fixing it.
But you know what? All I do is tell them I love them, man. It might be not the kind of love they used to, but
because the key piece is discipline.
Because I still love you, but we're gonna do it this way, man. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
Thank you. We appreciate
maybe I'll
it.
come back.
Yeah, you definitely got to come back and spend some
I
time.
bring some people with me. I bring some of my ex-players with me.
There you go.
Okay, that'll work. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.
Sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Carl Lee at letstalk@promessage.com, Dale Cooper at dcooper@wvradio.com, or call 304-342-8131. Ask Carl a question or comment on current or previous episodes. Visit Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook. Like, rate, and subscribe from your podcast service to help more people find Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
Coach Swayne had to leave, and Hollis, and
that was part one. Yeah.
I'm like thinking like to myself, like his whole thing still surrounded itself in discipline.
Yeah.
It comes down to discipline. And he's going to hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. And I think, and again, he made the point about parents. Basically, got no play in it.
Yeah.
It's his discipline, and you got to trust that. I just don't know if we're ready for that.
Well, I would push back against that a little bit and say that it came down to love. I would say that it's love and discipline. You know what I mean? Because he was at a time when a lot of our youth, they needed someone to talk to, someone to hold them accountable, but you had to show them love at the same time. Because love without discipline, it just don't work. And he's coached during some very, very, very tumultuous times in the 80s and the 90s. So, like I said, Coach, I think it would come down to, love and discipline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he did claim the love on the back end, but that's that same mother-father love and discipline together. Mm-hmm. That's not.
But I say it's a father's love and discipline. Because again,
yes, I can give you that.
You're dealing with a community.
But some moms, single moms can do that same thing.
No.
I think so.
Statistics don't bear that. Statistics don't bear that if we look at statistics. But what I'm saying is that I think when you're dealing with young black men, particularly coming up in a harsh environment, you need someone like a Coach Swayne. Like I said, he talked it how he walked it. He lived in the community. He taught, worked, coached in the community. He was a person of the community. And to my point last week, he didn't try, he didn't try to branch out and do 1,000 different things. His discipline, his teaching, his love was in the context of athletics that could grab guys. Because I seen guys who were great up until junior high, middle school, and then when they left Coach Swayne, they just couldn't function as well because they didn't have that guy with them.
Because, and again, for me, I think I was truly, truly blessed because every level that I went to, I had that coach.
Yeah.
You know.
But you also have those parents too.
Yes,
you
true.
You had the perfect mix. You had mom and dad.
I can make that case. I had the parents who were not going to interact with the coach. They weren't going to say what should have happened, or he should be playing, or he shouldn't be playing.
And in addition to that, regardless of whatever the coach was going on, they was going to hold you to the same standard, if not a higher standard.
Yes, Dad was.
So the standard was at home with you.
Yes.
And what I'm saying with a lot of the kids that Coach Swayne had, again, there's some great parents over there, not to disparage everybody, but some of those kids just didn't have that standard at home for whatever reason. And he was able to put that standard on them and lift them up and make it, or in the cases that the parents were of the standard, he maintained it. It didn't dip off when
right,
you went
didn't
to go see him.
like if you were at home, it's going to be exactly
it's gonna be
the same
or
thing
higher. It could be higher.
Yes, it could be higher. And I think in the sports realm, it is higher because, again, jumping off sides, not bringing your shoes, not having this, being late to that.
Yeah.
Everything that you do when you're there is a potential situation that a coach can discipline you on.
Yeah, and I would just make the case that, and it's something, like I said, I'm from the community. However, I went to school outside for a variety of reasons. And I feel like I never got that because I always wanted that with Coach Swayne. But I was able to get that through other coaches. But I think the beautiful thing about Coach Swayne and Coach J.R. Kinney, they were really of the community. You know what I mean? It was because I know you've talked about that sort of the loss of community when we look at sports and community. We've lost it. It's gone.
Oh,
now.
It's gone. Yeah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
gone.
And I think he was the last of an era. And I would make the case, whoever charged with, if you're ever hearing this, Coach Swayne should be in the West Virginia Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh,
whoever does that,
Hollis,
he should have been there already.
Hollis, when I started going through and looking at his bio, when he sent me his bio, I was like, well, wait a minute. Is there anybody have that record? Has anybody been that successful in producing? Again, part of the argument, we don't know all these athletes that went to college.
No, we know them.
No, we know them.
We know.
But we ain't.
It's
We're not
not a
celebrating.
list.
We're not celebrating.
It's not a list.
It's not a list that's out there. So he doesn't have. While he has that list, he's touched all those guys. He ain't getting credit for those guys.
Yeah,
as they're not getting credit. But you can't have that record. You can't have that record because that's a better record than anybody. I'm going to put it up against any coach that's come out of the state of West Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, because when you look at those guys, when you talk about all those NFL guys that he just named, that's off the top of his head.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about maybe 10, 15 guys he just named that are NFL guys that played in college, guys that are Hall of Famers at their respective universities. I mean, he's
the common denominator.
He's the common denominator. In addition now, right, when you look at his tree, he has a two-time state championship coach in Pat Jones, who he coached, and now he's an assistant on that program. He's one of the greatest coaches in our state's history, and he needs to be celebrated in the Hall of Fame.
And I'm gonna prick this little hole in this argument, just specifically just because I think I should. You can't look at him. You can't look at him as a black man coaching on the West Side. You can't look at him that way. No.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Let me see where you're going with that.
Yeah. He is a man, a great coach that coaches men, women, young, old. He's coaching. He is a great leader. Period. So don't compare him to that coach, that coach, that coach. But because even if you try to do that, the wins and losses, he gonna win that one too.
Yeah.
So he wins the win-losses, and he wins the whole argument about the effort. The kid he's talking about, sent him home, brought him back, sent him home, brought him back, sent him home.
He's one of our, and the kid he's specifically talking about is one of our greatest community leaders right now.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. But I would argue I see where you're going with that, but I think that we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that I don't think somebody else could have had the impact that he had. And I'm not talking about just on the field or on the court, on the track. I'm talking about in the community. I mean, because when we talk about all the great athletes, the NFL, the college, the D1 guys that he coached, it's a whole nother list of those same guys who are doctors, who are lawyers, who are activists, who are run companies right now that he touched and was able to instill those values and lessons in. So that is a factor, him being a black man in a black community during a time in which there were no black men of status in the community.
He deserves all the credit.
Yeah.
And the recognition that he hasn't got.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't even know how you ignore it. Like, I don't know, like, some media person has those stats.
Yeah, and I think that maybe this is a good jumping off point, because I think that he needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, there ain't no question.
It can't wait till 50 years from now or 20 years. It needs to happen to media immediately. So maybe that's something we take on.
Well, what coach? I'm trying to ask the question: is there a better record coach that's coached all levels, men?
Yeah.
Men,
I don't
women?
know. I mean, I'm sure in these pockets of communities throughout West Virginia. I know we got the brother at Man, who was a high school, middle school coach down there for years, and so I'm sure there's great coaches, but I don't know in our community. When you just named off all those NFL guys that you coach, when you name off all the records as you said and the wins and losses and just the impact, man, he is what sports is what about.
75 of 80 games.
Yeah.
He's won 75. Let's just say the last 75 or the last 80 games, he's won 75 of them.
And that's only for a little bit of a time period. We're not talking about
it's over the past decade.
Yeah, and we're not talking. That's what I'm saying. 10 years. We're not talking about the other 35 years.
No,
because if you start adding that up, then that goes crazy.
And Hollis, he got a 36 game win streak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who has that?
Yeah. And
why do we not even know that?
But I think some people argue, hey, it's middle school. But again, when you take that in conjunction with the guys that he's coaching, what those guys have gone on to do, it validates everything.
I don't care if it was youth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because then what you do is you follow that trail of that young athlete from youth football to middle school football to high school football to college football to the NFL. And who's the common denominator in that piece? Who's the guy who took and rooted something into that athlete to go that direction?
And again, that's the argument, because that's the undeniable argument for Hall of Fame, for accolades, for awards named after him. It's what happens to those guys once they come through that program, and you see the results. You see not only the wins, and we could argue whether those are validated or whether we're going to count middle school records, but what you can't argue is those guys that went on to be lawyers, doctors, community leaders, NFL players, in NBA, pro basketball, baseball, and all that. That's what you can't argue. And coaches.
I'll ask this question, because this is what I've always heard. You coach to make these kids better people.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily a pro athlete.
Yeah.
Just better people.
Mm-hmm.
What's he doing?
Yeah, but
he's making better people.
But when we talk about Hall of Fame, you got to have a metric.
I understand.
You can't just say better people.
I understand that. He's got the metrics.
He got the metrics.
He's got the metrics and
yeah. Yeah.
He's got both.
He got all of it. He's
and
what a coach is supposed to be.
And if they've called the West Side the worst place, you know, it's a tough place to come out of there. You know, all those kind of stories that you hear about. But he's dug in and pulled these kids out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, I can testify. I saw it with my own two eyes. I mean, if there's one thing that I would have loved to play for Coach Swayne. If there's just one thing I probably could have did over keeping everything else the same, maybe spend a year, because I seen it with my own two eyes. I would go to their practices when they used to practice at Cabell Field, and I would just kind of watch how he, would relate to the guys, get on the guys.
Was he a screamer?
Not necessarily a screamer. He talk his little ish. Wasn't necessarily a screamer, but he was just, I'm telling you, to me, when I saw him, how I viewed it, it's like your dad. It's like your dad or your uncle being out there. He gonna talk to you how you need to be talked to. You know, you rough, he gonna talk to you rough. But it's always that compassion, empathy, and love attached to that. So you know it's not just coming from a mean-spirited place.
See, I think, and when I was talking about like Damon, as hard as I was on Damon, and as challenging as he made it, in hindsight now, he looks at that and says, man, Coach was really trying to do his best to get me to be the best player I can be, the best person I can be. It takes you some time to understand that. You know, I couldn't understand why Sonny was so hard on me.
It definitely takes you some time.
You look back at it and you say, if I'd had anything less than that, you know, because, bro, I'd have been partying thinking, oh, I'm great at Marshall. We ain't winning no games. But, you know, you hanging out and you thinking you great.
You the man.
Yeah, I'm the man. And he's telling me, you ain't scratched the surface.
And see, and I think that, you know, a guy like Coach Swayne offered all that. And then to our conversation last week when we talked about what are those attributes of a coach, and the first thing I said was teacher. Not only did he offer all that, but he's an excellent teacher on top of that. So he's able to communicate in a fashion that's understandable, that's relatable, and can pass the information along. Yeah. You know, and I just think that's the great skill of it all. Being able to manage the madness, being able to, be a strategic mind athletically, and also be able to communicate effectively to those individuals in these type of situations is just masterful.
And I think it's important because the task that he's taken on and what he has done over 40 plus years is he's taken the community that everybody has talked about as the bad community, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And he's found these stones, these stars that have been able to come out of there and become something. And how do you, to me, you can't ignore that.
Yeah.
You can't.
And the thing is, he's taking that same philosophy, that same type of thinking, and now he's at Nitro in a community that doesn't necessarily have those same problems, that's vastly different than the one he came from. And guess what? You got the same level of success. You got 2 championships in the last 4 years and probably the best women's girls basketball program in the Valley or in the state.
Again, the common denominator is him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
You cannot deny that. And the thing, he took it to Capitol. And like I'm saying, you can't deny that.
And we're beating this horse up, but I think it's deserving.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
I'm gonna make the plea that somebody has to make the consideration, look at the idea, the reasonings of who this man is and what he has done for the athletes that he has touched. Not just the student, but the student athletes that he has touched. And you cannot tell me that's as great as anybody else's individual achievement deserving to go into a Hall of Fame.
And to your point, when we look at the holistic job of a coach, when we look at it holistically, what is the intent of this position? Nobody probably has filled that in this community, maybe in this state, has fulfilled that better than him.
And we're getting to a place where they're not interested in that. We're getting to a place where
I think the coaches are.
Yes.
I just don't think the culture is. And I think the culture drives kind of what's important.
Maybe it is.
I think at the heart of coaches, but I think the coaches it's a little toxic right now when it comes to athletics.
But again, you're talking about a coaching staff walking away from the head coach because
we've seen that before, right?
No, I haven't. The whole staff.
You seen I think we. Well,
okay. So yes,
we've seen a mutiny before.
I've seen that before. I've been part of that before.
Yeah, you've seen that, time after time. But I just think, like I said, I think the pressure of. Because when we look at even those assistants that you mentioned, when you look at the pressure of kind of what they going through, because a lot of the times the parents ain't talking to the head man. When I was assistant, I got all the parents crap. I got it all. You get it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, because they feel like they can talk to you. So it's pressure on everybody. I just think the culture is bad because, again, if I'm the offensive coordinator, if I'm stifled by him, we disagree, I can't – there's just no time for me to, like you said, pay my dues and then just move on.
Right.
You know? So –
ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make the case that the individual that we had, Coach Swayne, on today, probably, to me, in my view, was probably the most interesting to me just because of how humble he was, but how certain he was and knowing of his success.
Yeah.
And I think he manages that well, because you could be, there could be an arrogance to it. Mm-hmm. But no, his is just a reality. Like he knows what it is. He knows that it's there. And there's a certainty of wherever I'm coaching, this is going to follow me. Success is going to follow me. These kids are going to become somebody because I'm here. Yeah. Because I'm not going to let them fail. Yep. And I think what makes it important is we're in a time now where coaching is sometimes about yourself. Sometimes it's not, it's just about the win. I think Coach wants to win, but I think he wants the overall development of the athlete that he touches. And I don't think that we've had anybody remotely as close to perfection for our young kids coming through than him.
100%.
So, all right, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back, so we'll talk to you later. We're out.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.